Welcome back, hooligans. So in the last video, we loaded a bunch of animations in, and hopefully you were able to download those from the last video and get the zip file and unzip the file and extract the files and get them loaded. There should have been 8 animations. And then we created a blueprint, an animation blueprint, and a blend space. In the blend space, remember, we blend from walking all the way to running. Now we're going to start getting into really the important parts of being able to not just use the controller and have this stiff character move around, but actually as you're moving forward or left or right, or looking up or looking down or jumping, have those animations play while you're moving the character around. And you could be using your keyboard as well. We did inputs for both of those. So let's go ahead and start hacking away at this animation blueprint. And in this video, we're going to just create variables. I'm going to use blueprintue again and have you go ahead and cut and paste some code into the event graph blueprint, or the animation blueprint, the event graph. We'll talk through what it does, but for now, I want to hope that I can get you to get an animation blueprint, variables created, and compiled. So on the left, pretty empty blueprint. We're going to start with variables. And the first variable that we're going to create, we're going to call it MovementComponent. So MovementComponent. And what we want to do is when you click on, this is kind of a little lesson here in how things work here in Unreal. And when you click on it here, over on the right, you'll see the details of it. So we named our variable here MovementComponent. The variable type, we want to search for character movement. So character movement component. So it's a movement component and it's type character movement component object reference. All right. And one other thing on the category, we're going to go ahead and call this references. We're going to create a couple of variables in the references. Sorry. Let's spell it right. R-E-F-E-R-E-N-S, references. There we go. We're going to go ahead and create a category, and it's really just over here on the left. See variables, and then under variables, we have reference variables. And so it's just easier to sort of organize your variables. So under reference variables, we're going to go ahead and right-click and add another variable, and we're going to call it character. And you can either do it over here, or I like to click here and then go over to the details. In this case, the variable type, you're going to search for character, and it's character object reference. All right, and for category, let's go ahead and put it, well, we can do over here, we just drag it up into references. There we go. I'm trying to keep this clean over here on the left, so we have, as we troubleshoot later on, I want to make sure we have these set up. So under variables, we have 2 reference variables. We have movement component, which is of variable type character movement, and we have character, which is of variable type character. All right, and so these are references we're going to use when we drag into the event graph, the code you'll see here in a few minutes. It references these variables, so these are reference variables that we're going to use throughout the animation blueprint to get movement. Now we want to add a couple simple vector and Boolean movements. So we're going to create 4 more, and I'll have these variable names and the type in the description on the video so that you can go ahead and follow along if you want to just have it to the side. But let's go ahead and create the next set of variables, and let's go ahead and call this one velocity, and we'll make velocity a vector. So a type vector, the yellow. And under category, we're going to create a category called essential, we'll call them essential movement data. These are going to store information like velocity and ground speed and things like that. So we'll call it essential movement data. So you have velocity there, and that's a vector. Let's go ahead and create another variable, and we will call that ground speed. And we'll make that a float. Float. We'll go ahead and create 2 more variables. We're going to create one called ShouldMove. And we're going to make that a Boolean, so true or false. And we'll go ahead and make one more variable that we'll call IsFalling. And again, these are variables and that's a Boolean. I'm gonna go ahead and drag these into Essential Movement. You see over here on the left, you can drag these in. What we want in the end here, it's nice and clean, and I'll move this up so it's kind of clear to see here. In the end, what we want under our variables is we want a category called references with a movement component and a character, and their reference to objects, and then essential movement data where you're able to see vector, float, Boolean, and Boolean. Now, let's go over to blueprintue. So I'll bring in blueprintue, and I have a blueprint here called Hooligan animation movement. And I'll go ahead and link this in the description of the video. But there's some code in here that, if you remember from before in blueprintue, you can either look at the code here or just do a copy and go back to Unreal, and in the event graph do Control V. And what we've done is we've brought in the code that really is going to be driving the events on the animation update, so that the character and remember, so you see referenced in here character movement, character, you'll see things like ShouldMove in there. So these are the variables that create. Success here is if you hit compile and it compiles. So save, compile, save and compile often. What that means is we've got our code into our event graph, and we'll step through that. And we've got our reference variables and our essential movement data variables all set up. I'm going to end this video and jump into the state machines in the next video, but hopefully this made sense. Again, a quick recap. What we did is we went into our animation blueprint, and we went ahead and created some variables, and I'll list those variables on the description of the video. And we went to our trusty blueprintue, where I've gone ahead and put some code in there that is for the animation blueprint event graph that will drive the actual animation. I think I want to note here, see in our animation blueprint, you loaded all those animations in, so you see them here. So we're ready to start using these and sort of wiring all this together so that you're able to get nice movement in your character. So that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.